Back on the Chamber Report, time now for our monthly visit with Chris Randall. Chris is with First Bank Elk River out of the Anoka branch. Chris is chair of the board of directors. Put it this way, First Bank pays him, which he needs to get paid. The Chamber does not. Chamber is a nonprofit. Anybody on our board of directors is not paid to sit on those seats. They are there to run the ship that is the Chamber and do things to try to help its membership. It's literally that simple. And they are a reactionary group. The example was that Highway 10 discount program that I talked about. And Chris, let's lead with that real quick before we get into what we did up at Anoka High School. You, as a commercial banker, I know you've been hearing it from folks in the business world about Highway 10 and the construction and the hit that it's had on business.
Yeah, our location in Anoka has seen, reduced foot traffic, and it doesn't take much to realize that that's going to be a problem that everybody along the corridor is going to face. And, you mentioned Culver's, McDonald's, Bamboo Village, Honest One Auto Care, Taco Bell, KFC, the Quick Trip, Super America, everybody, Pineski's, up and down, and it's something that, everyone's going to have to deal with, and there are some things that we can maybe do to help out, and, try to make that, lessen the impact that they're going to face, but it's definitely going to be real for them, and I think it's one thing to think about the businesses, and we see a lot of, there are national chains there, but we forget that, down 40% for Culver's, the franchisee may be able to manage that, but ultimately that's going to impact the workers who live in our community by reduced hours potentially, and so that's where we really want, that's where the pain is going to be felt. I mean, the franchisees are going to, suffer too, but ultimately those impacts are going to be on the workers, and that's the people that probably can afford that impact the least. So we want to make sure that we can do what we can to support, kind of help everybody lessen that impact. So.
Well, and you had mentioned at the board meeting that you've gone to Culver's off and on, but you've been making a concerted effort to try to get over there. Number one, you got to eat lunch, right. So why not do it at a business that's being affected and try to help their cause? And so you yourself have stepped up, and that's kind of what we're hoping other folks will do.
Yeah, I mean, once a week, and my wife might not appreciate the impact that's going to have on me personally, but at the same time, we've got to eat. It is, and I think that's what we have to do. I mean, it's, and selfishly, it's easier to get there right now than it is to get further away from the bank, because we're just effectively across the street. But supporting those businesses, it's always been important for us at the bank to support the local community, and this is just another way that we can support that immediate community in a small way, but hopefully, one person doing it, and we get the word out, it makes an impact. So.
You bet. You take times 1, times 10, times 50, times 100, and all of a sudden you're starting to see a positive impact that those businesses so need.
Absolutely, yep.
All right, so way back in September when you started your first meeting as chair of the board, we had our strategy to action plan. Strategy to action plan is something the board does every year as we start getting ready for our new fiscal year, which, by the way, starts on October 1st. So we put some goals in place, and we have some discussion about how can the Anoka Area Chamber do its job better. And Chris, one of the things that came out of that planning was that we wanted to talk to the younger generations better currently than what we are. And so the board started to have conversations about how we might do that. And one of the ways was we ended up at Anoka High School with the DECA class, which is the Distributive Clubs of America class. It's, hey, I'm former president of the Anoka High School DECA in 1978, but it's business. That's what it is. And so we ended up there with the teacher Doug Orr's class, and it was a great meeting.
It was a lot of fun to get out, to get to the school. Anna Daly, another board member, joined us, and we had a very productive hour, effectively, with those students. They were high school seniors, so we unfortunately won't get a chance maybe to work directly with that group of students again, but we were able to kind of identify a plan that we will utilize now as we extend that outreach. And the big takeaway, and you and I have had this discussion a few times, was we assume that the youth are just always in their phones and they want everything to be technology, and they really shy away from interpersonal communications and those interpersonal interactions. And what we learned was quite contrary. In fact, the exact opposite of that. And it was great that we were there in person, because they mentioned how valuable they feel and how important it is to this initiative that we're putting out there, that we actually engage them directly. And so, you know, that was a really cool takeaway.
Yeah.
And it provided us an opportunity. I mentioned the plan that we've kind of formulated, that we will be extending that outreach. And the board, through a committee and a group of, you know, board members or members of the chamber, that will go out now to schools, whether they have a DECA program or not. They have business programs, I'm sure. So all the schools that are served by our chamber will be on the list to get visits. And you know, personally, that's something that I look forward to doing. I was in college. I was a history and social studies ed major, and I wanted to be a teacher initially. And this will allow me to kind of get back into the classroom in a way that I don't have to deal with maybe grading papers and things like that. But so I'm looking forward to that outreach and getting to know those kids, and that's really the stepping stone then, or the catalyst for them to become engaged with the chamber. And so we do that face-to-face contact, and I think you had mentioned that after we visited that group, we saw an increase in our engagement on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I think that's...
And Twitter.
And Twitter, yes. So here we had expected it to be different, and they even indicated, you know, we kind of consider Facebook to be kind of the parents' social media site of the current age, and we learned that they are actually very engaged in Facebook from a marketing and a business standpoint, which I thought was interesting. They're also extremely engaged in LinkedIn, and I actually brought that back to my own kids, and now I am liked by my 3 children, and they all have LinkedIn profiles, so I'm not sure if that's the target LinkedIn market or not, 13 and 16-year-olds, but it seems that we've maybe not taken seriously where these younger people are really engaged, and it's good to know that they are looking towards that business-minded future.
Well,
so.
and it wasn't TikTok. We thought, you know, I'm doing TikTok videos or something, which, trust me, I was not looking forward to. It's not that at all. And in fact, when we said TikTok, they were like, nah. And we were shocked, as Chris said, that Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter were places, but they wanted that face-to-face first. So what this outreach group is going to do, and we're going to form this committee, as Chris said, we'll go out to the membership. I'm sure there'll be board members on it. And they are going to be kind of ambassadors of the chamber, going out into these classrooms and telling them the short story of who the chamber is, you know, why we are, and what it is that we do. Short and sweet, and just have that interaction. Now they're aware of the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce, but that first contact we thought was going to come through this. That is not, it's the exact reverse. They want the face-to-face. Then it comes into here. Now, as they get us connected through LinkedIn, which we send out stuff on LinkedIn all the time, they will now probably stop and look, because they're aware of who the Chamber of Commerce is, and they want to hear what it is that we're talking about. Just did not expect that. We expected something different. That's why you do these things. That's why you go out and you ask the question. It was really good, and you would have been a heck of a teacher. You were very comfortable in front of those kids.
I don't mind speaking in front of the kids. It's just all the other the administrative pieces that I'm glad I'm probably not.
Well, you know, it's kind of like, you know, when your kids have kids and you can be a grandparent, you get the fun part of the kid, but then you give the kid back. So here, you're going to go out, you're going to engage them, and then you give the kids back to the teacher, and you're out the door going back to what you're doing.
Absolutely. And one kind of final comment that I was impressed with that. I mean, you know, they're seniors, so they're probably the most sophisticated people in the school, you'd like to think. But that group of DECA kids at Anoka they seemed pretty engaged in what we were there for, and that was, you know, I don't know if that was surprising, but it was encouraging. You know, they see a couple of, you know,
you could say old farts.
Well, old folks older folks that you know they've never dealt with before, and we could come across perhaps a little stale, but they were polite and engaged and had very good comments.
It was good, and I've talked at a lot of school classes throughout my tenure at the Chamber of Commerce, and trust me, I've been in a few of those where they weren't engaged. You could tell that whatever I had to say was kind of the last thing that they really wanted to hear, and that's okay. Didn't take it personally. When we were up there with Doug Orr's DECA kids, man, and questions were coming right and left, they were very, very interested, and that was cool. Mm-hmm. So we will be putting this together over the summer. Obviously, we're not going to be going out to high schools in the summer when there's no high school, but the plan is that this fall and probably October, I mean, number one, we need to make the connections to the schools to find the right classes. If they don't have a DECA class, okay, what kind of business class do you have? Who's that teacher? Staff makes the reach out, makes that connection, says, hey, are you interested? Okay, and then we'll take people from the committee and start slotting into these things. And this is ongoing. I told Chris after the last board meeting, I think this is going to be one of the bigger things that this chamber has done in a long time with longevity in play. I see this being a part of the chamber moving forward for as long as the chamber's around. There is never a time that we won't want to have that outreach. And I love it. This is a big piece. I'm excited about it, and we will start seeing the fruits of the labor of this come next fall, and it's pretty cool. Lastly, the chamber talks to its members in numerous ways. Pretty much a lot of it has shifted to through emails. We used to do a printed newsletter. We shifted once pandemic hit, and we were already pretty much 70–80% virtual anyway. But if you're not getting your email, or if you don't open it, you're not hearing a lot about what we've got going. And so the board had a discussion, Chris, about maybe we should look at maybe some of the older ways and maybe expand beyond just that email scenario and meetings to connect to the membership.
Yes, I think, we embrace technology to make the COVID situation work as best as we could for the board, and I think we did a very good job with that. But I think also we have to, we tend to maybe pivot too fast, which I think is kind of a funny thing to say. But we realize that some of those old those touches that people get in the mailbox they still hold value, and I think that's there's a theme here. We seem to be this things you can touch, face-to-face interactions are still valuable, and they still have a very significant place in what we do from a business standpoint, and then also engaging clients, customers, potential clients and customers, and the chamber's ability too. So we identified that maybe a postcard type, postcard maybe isn't the right, it's a little bigger than that, but we're going to reach out to send out a mailer to members and maintain that engagement and give them something they can touch, and be kind of a highlight of what's going on. And I think we determined on a quarterly basis, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about that. Again, I think it's what strategies do we employ to maintain engagement, and it's kind of a D, all of the above. I think we have to be flexible and adaptive, but we can't necessarily turn our backs on the things that we've been doing that probably works better than maybe we assumed.
And I think the goal here is that we just want the member engaged, and if something printed that they can hold on to is going to help, and I'll tell you what, there's going to be that batch where this piece that we will create is what's going to matter, where the email just doesn't work for them. So let's get it out there in as many ways as we can. We're in a financial position now where, trust me, we're not loaded, but where, this is an affordable thing for us to do. Most of the work is being done with the design. We're getting help from one of our board members down in the Crude Inky Elf. But then it'll fall on staff to create it. We'll do that. And it will be a scenario about, hey, here's upcoming events. Here's a hot topic issue. Whatever might be something we want to get out to the memberships. What is going to be in that piece? Yet to be named, but that we are in the works on that, and I think it's great. That's going to be another piece, I think, that's going to be a part of this. Chris is just making such dynamic changes here during his year, because this is stuff that I believe is going to be in place long after I'm gone, and they're stuck with me for a while yet, so it's good stuff. Chris, I want to end with, you are a commercial banker at First Bank Elk River. You're out of the Anoka branch. How is the commercial banking world right now as we head into summer 2022?
Well, it's quite good. I think that there is a lot of, I've been saying this now for about 7 months. I think this is my seventh show. We continue to see inflation as being, it's real, it's impacting people's lives, and it's going to change the business dynamic that we have here. But I think there is still an underlying strength in the economy, and that has built in a lot of confidence for business owners. So I think while we see some, definitely some, I guess, warning signs for things, I think at the end of the day, we still see some investments being made in equipment. We see people wanting to make, there's some big projects in our area here that are, you know, individually that I'm kind of privy to, that are going to be exciting for the communities that are served by the chamber. And I think that we see those investments being made, and I'm encouraged by that investment. And I think that if we dot our I's and cross our T's, we can do these things in a way that will be sustainable through the economic changes that are ahead of us. And you know, we're positive. We're positive moving forward.
Good to hear. Hey, if somebody out there wants to talk to you about commercial lending and just what the story is at First Bank and how they might be able to do some activity with you, how do they get a hold of you?
They can come into the bank. I know that we'd all love to see a new face, especially during the construction project here right off of Highway 10. And also, you can look us up online, elkriver.bank. Also, my direct dial, 763-712-7860 in the Anoka office. And I'd love to speak with anybody that's got any questions or concerns. And you know, even if it's just questions about where you're currently banking, and want to make sure that, you know, you're getting the best advice. You know, a lot of what we do is consultative, and so, you know, it's not always the best opportunity to change banks for people. And we have, you know, I'm comfortable letting you know if you're getting a good deal, and you know, if there's something that might be better out there for you. So I appreciate any opportunity to speak with the community.
You bet. Doing it right. All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, you like this part the best. It's member profiles, and we'll do it right after this.